A farewell. It's been 300 years since WWV wrapped up, ending that whole 33-year nightmare. After the dust settled, the United Americas, from north to south, including Greenland, shook hands with the Eurasian Federation, encompassing all of Europe and Asia, and the Republic of Afrabsorbed somehow absorbed Saudi Arabia and Australia, which collided. They dropped the beef, signed a treaty, and became the Global Alliance. Over 1 billion souls, people, animals, workers were crammed into these megacities, like roaches in a jar. Everything outside the city limits was blasted and poisoned. Out there, the hydro barriers glowed, keeping what was left of the good land from turning to dust. Big ol' scrubbers hummed, keeping the air breathable. AI ran the whole damn show, micromanaging every little thing you did. They even tried to fake it with hydroponic vertical green walls, like a band-aid on a bullet wound, trying to make the concrete jungle look less like a trap. The whole city vibrated with a constant tech hum, a reminder of how brilliant humanity was. But in reality, privacy was dead. Every thought, every handshake, every damn blink, it was all getting piped through your echo sync, your digital shadow. And you know the field Arnos. They're tight, and they're everywhere: senators, engineers, nurses, teachers, even military vets. Their family tree had branched out significantly over the last century, a vibrant tapestry of every shade, from paper sack brown to deep dark skin. Most of them held it down in the Mississippi River Valley megacity. Do you think they'll ever really let us turn these things off? Ori Field Arno, a lanky 11-year-old with an engineer's practical mind, tapped his temple, referring to his own EchoSync band. He glanced nervously at his mother, Marie, a senator in the Global Alliance, who sat across from him in the pod, reviewing data on her compad. Marie lowered her pad, her expression weary. The fluorescent glow of the transit pod seemed to accentuate the lines of stress around her eyes. Not while the Alliance deems it essential for global harmony and resource allocation, Ori said. It's the new normal. She sighed, running a hand through her hair. Every unit of energy, every ration of clean water, every movement. It's all accounted for. The EchoSync isn't just a record, it's a constant feedback loop for the central AI. They call it efficiency. We call it a gilded cage. Her voice dropped to a near whisper, almost one swallowed by the low hum of the pod. But some cages are better than the alternative, aren't they? She gestured vaguely towards the desolate, filtered landscapes on the public info screens, starkly contrasting the sterile perfection within the city's walls. At least here, we breathe. We eat. We exist. Ouija, always more interested in the immediate gratification of the digital world, perked up, a wide grin splitting his face. He pulled his sleek compad from his pocket, already swiping through filters. Mom, please. We've been packed for days. My new 0G selfie stick is fully charged, and I've got my holographic emitters ready. I'm going to post so much content to the family page, wow. Uncle Brevet is going to love my moonwalk in the observation lounge. He gestured wildly, already picturing his viral posts. Ori rolled his eyes, good-naturedly, at his brother's enthusiasm. Yeah, Mom, he's been buzzing like a Proton driver. Our bags are at the door, waiting for the automated pickup. He shot a teasing grin at Ouija. He thinks he's going to be an orbital influencer. Ouija gasped, feigning offense. Hey. It's a valid career path in the new economy, Ori. Besides, someone's gotta document the Field Arno legacy in the stars. Marie chuckled softly, a rare, genuine sound that smoothed away some of her weariness. Orbital influencer, huh? Well, just try not to break any Alliance regulations with your content, Ouija. We don't want any flags on our family data profiles. She stood, adjusting her crisp, gray Alliance-issue tunic. All right then, let's get going, shall we? Don't want to miss our ride to paradise. She offered them both a reassuring, if slightly strained, smile. This will be good. A real break. She opened the pod door, and the familiar hum of the megacity rushed in, a palpable pressure that reminded them of the life they were about to briefly, gloriously, escape. Departing at Port Terminal Entrance 3B out there, beyond the city's oppressive light pollution, the hydro barriers glowed with an eerie, steady pulse, their energy drawn from the planet's scarred core. Even within the city limits, the sky was a muted, perpetually hazy gray, a far cry from the vibrant blue of old Earth. Another pollution warning, Grandpa Ricky. 8-year-old Barry Field Arno tugged on the sleeve of her great-grandfather, her brow furrowed as she pointed to a flickering alert on the transparent wall screen of their transit pod. The air in the pod, usually so clean, carried a faint metallic tang. To Ricky, his ancient eyes twinkling despite the grim news, patted her hand. Just the usual, sweet pea. The scrubbers are working overtime today. It just means the wind's blowing the wrong way from the old rust belt. He sighed, the sound lost in the constant, low thrum of the city's machinery. Reminds me of the stories my grandma used to tell about in the skies you could see stars in, not just the glow from the upper districts. Morgan, Ricky's granddaughter, glanced up from her wrist-mounted interface, a faint line etched between her brows. It's a far cry from the old days, Granddad, she said, a dry note in her voice. Do you recall the respiratory index alerts from when I was a child? Those terrifying red flashes on the monitors, warning us to seal the HAB units. She gave a humorless chuckle. At least the AI ensures we don't suffocate. The air might be filtered and refiltered 100 times until it's thin and tastes of nothing, but it's safe. Her gaze drifted to the humming purification vents above them. This is simply our reality now, Barry. Humanity found a way to survive, didn't we? Bella, Barry's older aunt, barely even glanced up from the bright screen hovering over her own EchoSync bands. She was messing with some slick 3D blueprints, her fingers flying. Without even looking away, she grumbled, yeah, we adapt by hardwiring every single thought straight into the network. You can't even cook up a secret idea anymore without those ES bands blasting it out to the closest tower. She let out a quick, dry chuckle of disbelief. The A.I.S were running the whole show, from making sure the food was coming up right and getting to everybody, to scrubbing the air so you could breathe. They even cooked up special mixed-breed seeds for the hydroponic plant walls, miles of them creeping up the side of the high-rises, looking all lush and green, but that didn't hide the fact that this was still a concrete jungle. It was a quick fix to a big problem, trying to make the neighborhood look like paradise. But privacy was gone. Every idea, every handshake, every single blink, all that was getting streamed right through your EchoSync bands, ESB, your digital ghost. You just can't shake it off, no matter what. Did you remember Aunt Kaise's anti-gravity compression socks? Called out Artemis Field Arno, a gruff but caring former military medic, checking a packing list on his wrist-mounted screen. He was supervising the last-minute luggage transfers to the orbital shuttle bay. Yes, they're here. Got 'em, Dad. And Uncle Joe's special probiotic nutrient paste, shouted back 3Akara, his daughter, a quick-wit nurse who could charm information out of even the most tight-lipped alliance bureaucrats. She adjusted her glasses, a slight smile playing on her lips. He'd never survive a week without that stuff, especially not on a space cruise. You could always count on Kaise Field Arno to be the first one there. Right on her heels were the twins, Keith and Corey, their wives, and their kids, a bustling mini crowd. Hi there, Applehead. Ricky's voice boomed, a teasing grin plastered across his face as he and his entire immediate family came through the port. Brother, am I glad to see you. Kaise shrieked, her eyes wide as she pointed past him. Look at it. The majestic Starship Phoenix. She didn't even finish before she dragged him away from the window, just like their own little kids would do. Soon, more cousins linked up, their greetings a cheerful cacophony. Siblings, who hadn't seen each other for far too long, wrapped each other in tight, excited hugs. The adults mingled, their laughter filling the space, while the children, wide-eyed with wonder, pressed their faces against the reinforced windows, their tiny hands leaving smudges as they gasped at the sheer, overwhelming scale of the phoenix. Finally, Jerry arrived, his two wives, Sally and Marcia, by his side. Every couple of years, it's time to throw a family reunion. This year, they went all out, a 7-day run on the majestic Starship Phoenix. On July 23, 2282, at 9:30 a.m., 227 Field Arnos rolled up to the Phoenix's dock, ready for a reunion that was way beyond some regular resort they were going space cruise partying. A cataclysmic farewell July 23, 2282, 9:30 a.m. aboard the majestic Starship Phoenix. The majestic Starship Phoenix was an interstellar sanctuary for 300 guests, blending luxury and innovation. Suites ranged from panoramic view lofts to anti-gravity havens, with smart AI, custom holograms, and hydroponic plants crafting private retreats. The Grand Owner's Suite stood apart with its own observatory and unmatched opulence. Dining venues spanned a gravity-flexible Grand Hall, the farm-to-table Stellar Bistro, and the experimental Zero-G Gastronomy Lounge, with guests witnessing cultivation in onboard farms. Exploration thrived in the Astrodome, holodecks, and Zero-G play zones, while the Aquatic Center featured gravity-free pools and glowing lagoons. Guests unwound in 4 Zen gardens, art galleries, or took in live performances. Youth zones offered tailored adventures, while wellness seekers found balance in the Grav Gym and Celestial Spa. Service included private butlers, full medical care, and luxury retail. Even the 10 escape pods offered comfort, safety, and starlit views. Phoenix wasn't just a starship, it was interstellar elegance redefined. Centered on the platform stood Captain Marcus Hayes, a figure of calm authority, with his 4 co-captains arrayed stoically behind him. 10 shipmates, their uniforms crisp and purposeful, stood at attention on the floor below. As the excited chatter of the Field Arno family died down and they came to a halt, Captain Hayes' voice, deep and resonant, filled the space. "Welcome, Field Arno family. I am your captain, Marcus Hayes. It is my distinct honor to escort you on this 7-day orbital journey around Earth's atmosphere. Please be assured that all your luggage has already been securely placed in your designated living areas." He gestured to the co-captains behind him. "With me are my 4 co-captains, Matthew Bacon, Travis McBay, Hilton Gray, and Timothy Hackworth. And here," his hands swept to the crewmen below, "are the 10 dedicated members of our crew who will be managing the ship to ensure your comfort and enjoyment." A brief, almost imperceptible pause. "We will be launching at approximately 10:15 a.m. Each of your personal EchoSync bands will now guide you to your designated launch pod. Thank you all for choosing the majestic Starship Phoenix for this momentous journey." The very instant Captain Hayes' final words faded, the Field Arno family's personal EchoSync bands, ESB, simultaneously activated, a soft chime accompanying their polite instructions, "Please proceed to your designated pod for takeoff." A ripple of excited tension moved through the group. Cousins clapped each other's backs, siblings exchanged meaningful glances, and even the normally stoic elders allowed themselves rare, quiet smiles. With growing anticipation, the family surged forward toward the sleek individual pods, their movement like a tide drawn by destiny. Climbing into the surprisingly spacious seats, each pod responded with a gentle hum. The AI systems engaged, securing both passengers and their belongings with smooth, reassuring precision. Despite the looming launch, a soft murmur filled the cabin, snippets of awe, hopeful whispers, and shared exhilaration. Over the comms, Captain Hayes' voice returned, now sharpened with a 5 mission-driven focus. "Launch sequence initiated. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and with that final word, the majestic starship Phoenix began its ascent, carrying dreams and souls toward the edge of the heavens. A profound shudder ran through the entire vessel, a deep rumble that vibrated through their very bones. Then, with an unimaginable surge of power, it was as if they were no longer simply sitting, but being hurled, effortlessly and irrevocably, through the smoggy sky. The majestic starship Phoenix tore through Earth's atmosphere, carrying the Field Arno family towards a new, uncertain future, a truly life-changing event unfolding with every accelerating second. Strapped tightly into their seats, every Field Arno eye was glued to the many viewports. They watched, transfixed, as the massive landscapes below became smaller and smaller, receding with alarming speed. Unknown to them, the Earth was a ticking time bomb. Below, they began to see colossal clouds of smoke, punctuated by angry, red-orange flames. Deep, concussive booms resonated even through the thick hull. They felt a slight, unsettling turbulence, the first tremor of the cataclysm they were escaping. Panic and raw terror began to etch themselves onto every face. As their vessel, the majestic starship Phoenix, gracefully pierced the Earth's upper atmosphere, the planet below simultaneously plunged into chaos. On the bridge, Captain Marcus Hayes and his 4 co-captains frantically worked the comms, their desperate calls echoing into the vast silence of space. No replies. Not a single beacon of hope from any other vessel. Now truly in space, the family was finally allowed to move freely aboard the ship. Most gathered at the grand lobby windows, their gazes fixed on their dying home. Over the comms, Captain Hayes' voice, strained but resolute, cut through the growing unease. The Earth is falling. Massive earthquakes have ripped across the United Americas, the Eurasian Federation, and the Republic of Africa. Simultaneously, 3 of the world's largest volcanoes have erupted, a terrifying chorus of destruction. Other vessels, desperate specks of light, were seen fleeing the inferno, but one by one, they were consumed by the rapidly expanding fallout. The vibrant blues and greens of their home world quickly transformed into a swirling canvas of ash, fire, and suffocating darkness. Returning home was no longer an option. As the Phoenix completed its ascent, its 10-member command crew pressed against 6 the observation windows and monitors, their faces illuminated by a macabre, flickering light from below. Earth, their home, didn't just explode, it imploded first, then erupted outward, a violent symphony of destruction that left them stunned and adrift in a sudden, terrifying void. "Still can't believe it," Harry murmured, his voice raw with disbelief. That was home. Just gone." The sky turned blood red, Drenba whispered, her gaze still fixed on the fading inferno, a haunted look in her eyes. "I saw it. The kids, they won't even remember the real blue." Ricky, ever the pragmatist, interjected, his voice firm, "We can't dwell on it. We have to teach them what's out here now. Keep them focused on what's next, not what we lost." As the fiery remnant of Earth dwindled from view, Lekaneth spoke quietly with the captain, then broadcast a ship-wide announcement, "Everyone, please gather in the Chow Hall for an emergency meeting. This concerns the rest of our lives. A new beginning, under new laws, new realities." The Chow Hall buzzed with deafening, panicked chatter, the air thick with fear. Every captain, crew member, and Field Arno family member was present, their faces pale under the ship's cool, artificial lights. Captain Hayes, standing at the central podium, raised a hand, his expression grim, waiting for the noise to subside. When a fragile quiet finally descended, his voice, usually so steady, was heavy with regret. "I am truly sorry to say this," he began, his gaze sweeping across the anxious faces, "but we do not know when or if we will be able to return to Earth." On the massive holographic displays that now banded the Chow Hall walls, real-time data flickered into terrifying visuals. "Our systems are showing you what's currently happening. Nearly every city has collapsed from earthquakes, or burned from the sheer force of magma from volcanic eruptions, or been swallowed by massive ocean waves. For now, I believe we must continue on our current course until further notice. His voice cracked slightly. But first, we haven't made any contact with survivors. Not a single distress signal has broken through the static. So, let us take a moment of silence for all those we've lost. A profound, heavy silence fell, broken only by the hum of the ship's life support and the occasional stifled sob. Across the room, at the head table closest to the captains, sat the elders Rikke, Harry, Drenda, Kaisi, Lekaneth, and Earl, all siblings. 7 Drenba finally broke the stillness, her voice trembling with raw grief and indignation. How are we to enjoy ourselves when the earth is in such a state? She gestured wildly at the silent screens. This topic must be discussed now. From across the hall, James Jr., a younger cousin known for his impulsiveness, interjected loudly, "Captain, I believe this meeting should be for adults. Look at their faces, they're devastated." Co-Captain Travis McBay nodded in agreement, a muscle twitching in his jaw. Lekaneth, the oldest and most stoic of the elders, his voice somber but infused with an unyielding resolve, cut through the rising tension. "He's right, James. And the painful truth is this, everyone, Earth is no longer an option for return. Not for any of us." He swept his gaze across the faces of his family and the crew, emphasizing the finality of his words. The new order following this stark pronouncement, the discussion shifted to the daunting, immediate tasks ahead. Captain Hayes, with Lekaneth's quiet support, moved to a central console, a new set of data appearing on the main screen, a manifest of skills. "Our priority," Captain Hayes announced, his voice regaining its command, "is maintaining the Phoenix. Our ship's AI has analyzed everyone's professional backgrounds and certifications. We'll be assigning teams for every critical function, from life support and atmospheric recycling to hull integrity checks and power core regulation." He paused, looking directly at Rikke. "Even those of you who manage planetary conglomerates will find ourselves with new hands-on duties." Rikke scoffed, leaning back in his chair at the elders' table. "Hands-on? Captain, my hands managed billion credit contracts, not wrench turning. Surely, there are enough crewmen for that." Lekaneth's gaze sharpened on his brother. "Rikke, there are plenty of us. Every capable body is a resource now. You understand resource allocation, don't you? Your billion credit contracts aren't worth the nutrient paste we'll be eating if this ship fails." A young woman, one of Kaisi's daughters-in-law, spoke hesitantly from the crowd. "What about those of us who don't have technical skills? What can we do?" "That brings us to the second critical point," Captain Hayes interjected, nodding at the young woman. "Survival in the Phoenix demands a new social contract. This ship is now our home, and like any home, it needs rules. Rigorous ones." He looked to his 8 co-captains. "Co-Captain McBay and I, with input from Lekaneth and the elders, have drafted a preliminary set of ship laws. These aren't suggestions. They are the framework for our continued existence." He gestured, and a stark list appeared on the holographs: mandatory work schedules, rationing protocols, designated quiet hours, strict waste management, disciplinary procedures for non-compliance. Drenba gasped, pointing at the screen. "Rationing? But, we have all these amenities. We're in Phoenix, for goodness' sake. There are pools, bars. Luxury is a concept of the past," Drenba, Lekaneth stated, his voice firm, cutting off his sister. "Survival is our only currency now. These laws are designed to ensure order and, above all, the survival of every single soul on board, a precious commodity in our new, empty universe." The discussion shifted from the shock of the Earth's end to the immediate, pressing reality of their new lives and the strictures that would now govern them. The implications of this new, stringent code settled heavily in the Chow Hall, a stark realization of what they had truly lost, and what they had to become. 2 years later the Field Arno family, a sprawling clan encompassing generations, had adapted to their nomadic existence. They'd learned to farm hydroponically, recycled every last drop of water, and educated their children under the distant glow of unfamiliar stars. Their bond, initially forged through shared heritage, was now tempered by shared survival, yet the grinding reality of their new life was starting to truly weigh on them. The family had carved out a meticulous lifestyle aboard the majestic starship Phoenix. Their days weren't marked by sunrises and sunsets, but by the ship's internal clock and the rhythmic hum of life support, a constant reminder of their enclosed, fragile world. Early mornings often saw family members engaged in preventative maintenance, checking atmospheric scrubbers or running diagnostics, a silent, often tense, dance of responsibility passed down through generations. Their entire existence revolved around the ship's operational needs, creating a blend of ancestral traditions and stark necessity. But the close quarters, the ceaseless hum, and the ever-present fear of the void outside began to fray their once unbreakable ties. The new normal was less about adaptation and more about gritted teeth and suppressed irritation. "Did you have to use the nutrient paste with the synthetic berry flavor again, Corey?" Keith snapped one morning in the communal mess hall, his voice unusually sharp. "You know London can't stand it, and it's not like we have options." Corey slammed his empty bowl down, eyes flashing. "Oh, forgive me, brother, for not consulting your palate before ensuring our children eat. Perhaps your executive chef role on Earth didn't prepare you for actual scarcity." Their wives, usually a calming presence, exchanged weary glances. Even the children, once so resilient, had begun to pick up on the underlying tension. Little Iris, normally quiet, burst into tears at the raised voices, clinging to Drenba's leg. Later that week, a more serious altercation erupted during hull inspection. Ricky, still struggling with the practical demands of his assigned tasks, had misread a pressure gauge, nearly causing a minor system overload. Harry, ever diligent and now acting as a de facto section lead, exploded. "Ricky, this isn't some corporate merger you can bluff your way through. A mistake here could depressurize the whole deck. Do you understand the stakes?" Ricky's face flushed. "I understand perfectly well, Harry. I also understand that I spent my life building an empire, not calibrating atmospheric sensors. Maybe you should have kept your hands on the controls back on Earth, instead of letting it all burn." The accusation hung heavy in the recycled air, touching on the unspoken grief and blame they all carried. The elders, particularly Lekaneth and Kaisi, often found themselves mediating these increasingly frequent squabbles. Lekaneth would gather the involved parties in a small, soundproofed auxiliary cabin, his voice low and steady. "We are all grieving," he'd often begin, looking from one hardened face to another. "And we are all terrified. This ship is too small for grudges, and the universe out there is far too vast for us to face divided." Their ship laws, initially a distant concept, became a living, breathing, often resented entity. Minor infractions, like leaving a recycling bin unemptied or exceeding water rations by a few drops, were met with formal reprimands and increased work shifts, enforced by the captain's crew with quiet, unyielding authority. The Field Arnos, who once commanded respect through wealth and lineage, now learned humility under the rigid discipline of survival. They were a family, yes, but now they were also crew, bound by necessity, scarred by loss, and locked in the intimate, unyielding confines of their new, metallic ark. Their minds, once expansive, were now focused solely on the next breath, the next maintenance cycle, the next sunrise that would never come. 2 years crawled aboard the majestic starship Phoenix. The initial, blinding shock of loss had long since given way to the monotonous, soul-crushing grind of survival. The limited rations, once an emergency measure, were now just food, a constant, gnawing source of tension that seeped into every conversation, every glance. One sweltering cycle, Iris, Drenba's granddaughter, attempted to sneak an extra algae cake from the stores. Her tiny hand, quick and desperate, snagged the forbidden square, but she was caught by the unblinking, watchful eye of her great-grandmother. "Hey! What are you doing with that?" Drenba's voice was sharp, a drill sergeant's bark, though it was laced with a familiar, bone-deep weariness that suggested this wasn't her first or last battle of the day. "Every gram's accounted for, Iris. You know that." "I'm starving, Granny." Iris protested, clutching the small, green cake as if it were pure gold. Her voice was thin, reedy, reflecting the constant hunger in her small frame. "This isn't enough to keep a kid going." Drenba sighed, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of the entire universe. Her stern gaze softened, a flicker of the old Drenba surfacing. I know, my sweetheart. Believe me, nobody's got enough out here. We've got just enough, and only if we all stick to it. If you break the rules, we all starve. Do you understand me? Your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, everyone." Iris's eyes welled up, tears tracing paths down her dust-smudged cheeks. "I'll return it, Granny. I'm sorry. I just thought no one would notice one." The whispered one was true heartbreak. Such is the nature of life now. Arguments frequently flared, not with the explosive anger of fresh grief, but with the simmering resentment of exhaustion and deprivation. Debates raged over water usage, hygiene versus hydroponics, or erupted into heated shouting matches over priority for limited communal spaces. These conflicts relentlessly tested their once ironclad family bond, forcing the captain and elders to enforce the strict rules with unwavering, often painful, consequences. A day's missed chore meant a docked ration. A public outburst meant solitary confinement in the small, Spartan auxiliary cabin, a chilling reminder of how small their world had become. Yet, they'd brought their sprawling culture with them, adapting old ways to the confines of a metal shell. Mealtimes, for instance, remained sacred communal 11 gatherings, even if the harvest now came from glowing hydroponic trays, and water for drinking was measured with careful precision by automated spigots. Resourcefulness wasn't a choice, it was their creed. Meals were simple, centered around nutrient-rich algae cakes and crisp, lab-grown greens, creatively stretched into satisfying dishes that often drew on forgotten family recipes. Every last drop of water was recycled meticulously through multiple filters, rationed for quick, cold showers, and carefully portioned for drinking. Nothing was wasted, broken parts were scavenged for repairs, and even their clothing was constantly mended and repurposed, telling a silent story of their enduring journey. A new horizon a full decade had crawled by since Earth died. The AI scanners finally delivered the electrifying news: a planet, eerily similar to Earth, with a breathable atmosphere. "Captain Hayes, you have to see this." Lieutenant Hackworth's voice practically vibrated with awe over the comms. Hayes leaned in, a slow grin spreading across his face. "Well, I'll be damned. This is monumental. Get those details to the meeting table, Lieutenant McBay. And alert the elders, we're calling an emergency meeting after the second dinner's over." Through the ship's internal comms, Captain Hayes immediately requested all Corps members for an emergency meeting to kick off right after dinner. The captains, Hayes, Matthew Bacon, Travis McBay, Hilton Gray, Timothy Hackworth, elders, Ricky, Harry, Drenba, Kaisi, Lekaneth, Earl, and Corps leaders, Lee Brevid Sr., Yennefer, Kakia, Taleb, Jerry, Keith, Artemis, Joe Sr., Andrew, and Fialana, gathered in the operations meeting room. "I've called this meeting with some truly groundbreaking news," Hayes began, his voice barely containing his excitement. "Today, just before the dinner rush, our AI system picked up a habitable planet. It's a bit smaller than Earth, but its atmosphere is an exact match, right down to the last molecule. From what we can tell, it's got 2 moons and a single sun. We're not close enough for a full life scan yet, but after 10 years of drifting, I believe this is absolutely worth exploring. The leaders' faces were a potent blend of hope and sheer trepidation. The future of humanity, cooped up for so long, suddenly hung by a thread. In the Operations 12 command room, the air buzzed with barely contained excitement, tempered by an undercurrent of raw tension. Elder Lekaneth, leaning forward, his gaze intense, cut in, monumental, yes, but it's also a monumental risk. We've been adrift for 10 long years. What are the immediate concerns for our people the moment we arrive? Captain Hayes nodded, acknowledging the elder's crucial point. Precisely why we're here. We'd effectively be an invading force, so we have to proceed with extreme caution. He turned to Hackworth. Drenba, can we detect any life from here? Any signs of intelligent civilization? Lieutenant Hackworth consulted his data pad, a slight frown creasing his brow. Negative. The planet's 2 light-years out. Not close enough for detailed life scans or to pick up anything beyond its atmospheric makeup. However, he added, pulling up a projection, a hyperjump timeline would get us there. Matthew Bacon, one of the younger captains, piped up, his voice practically jumping with eagerness, a hyperjump would get us there in just an hour. It's a calculated risk, but it's the only way to get close-range intel fast. Corps Leader Bravid pressed, his gaze sharp and unwavering. And what about technological weapons? We need to know if they can defend themselves. What's the probability of running into hostile forces? Captain Hayes shook his head, a hint of frustration creeping into his voice. Those answers will only come once we've jumped. For now, all we know is the AI's incredible discovery, an exact atmospheric match. We have a visual confirmation of the planet's surface from the long-range scans, but nothing detailed on inhabitants or their capabilities. Take a look at this visual here. He gestured to the central display, a vivid image of a swirling blue-green world. You can all see what we see. Mason pointed out small, irregular dots floating between the 2 moons. Are those meteors? Or satellites like home? The hologram zoomed in as much as possible. From the readings, it seems as if they are meteors, Matthew Bacon commented. It appears they've collected, stagnant on one side of the planet. Once we're in range, we'll have better intel. The image projected a pristine, almost untouched world. Elder Kaisi broke the silence that followed. The implications are clear. From the sounds of this conversation, we should be preparing our families for the hyperjump and for the very real possibility of an attack upon arrival. Our people need to be ready for 13 anything, not just celebration. Corps Leader Keith added, and supplies. We'll need rapid deployment of teams, resources for establishing a foothold, and a contingency for immediate defense. All valid points, Captain Hayes concluded, a decisive edge to his tone. Then it's settled. Rapid response teams are deployed, defensive protocols are activated, and the populace is briefed. A full announcement will follow shortly. Tomorrow morning, we depart for a new world, 2 hours after breakfast. Ready to land and explore. Let's move. Almost immediately, the ship's internal comm systems buzzed to life, pushing the mass announcement about the hyperjump through every personal EchoSync band device on board. Throughout the living quarters and common areas, crew members and colonists began to stir, pulling up the briefing on their screens. A low hum of activity rippled throughout the ship as people started packing essential bags, double-checking their personal gear, and making sure their quarters were secured for the extreme forces of a jump. The next few hours, and especially after breakfast in the morning, would be dedicated to meticulous final preparations and checks before they leaped into a new star. The morning on the Phoenix felt like pure electricity, way livelier than the stale, filtered stuff the ship usually pumped through. Down in the main mess hall, breakfast wasn't just something to eat, it was the very fire in their bellies for the big adventure coming. Folks' voices, even when they were low in that kind of can't believe it awe, still had a sweet ring of pure joy to them. Families clinked their mugs together, passing around grins that just wouldn't quit, stretching from ear to happy ear. "Can you truly believe it, child?" somebody whispered, then a whole choir of "real ground. Lord, real air." Laughter, light and true as sunshine, bubbled up constantly, with a few nervous little giggles from the children, who, bless their hearts, even though they felt how serious it all was, just got caught up in their mamas and daddies' happy fever. All through that ship, a humming energy just pulsed, full of purpose. Engineering teams moved with a joyful kind of quickness, their last-minute checks not feeling like chores at all, but more like a final, thrilling yes, Lord, triumph. Consoles just glowed with green lights, and every all clear was met with a head nod, a quiet little "we did it" triumph. The hustle and bustle wasn't just something organized, it was deep with the focused feeling of runners right before a big, long-awaited race. Navigation folks 14 rechecked their numbers with eager, sharp eyes, comms folks leaned in close, listening hard for the final go-ahead, and security teams did their rounds with a determined kind of shine in their gaze. Everywhere you looked, the feelings of the people were a bright, colorful quilt, pure, wide-open joy, fierce willpower, a deep, aching want for something new, and a thrilling, almost sweet fear of that big, wide unknown waiting for them. Then, that news, child, came not just through the comms but felt like it vibrated right up from the very floor beneath their feet, sweeping through that packed-in vessel, setting off a deafening, joyful sound that just filled up the air. After all those years locked up tight, that impossible dream of standing on solid ground, of open skies and true, fresh air, Lord, it had finally burst into a bright, shining reality. The Field Arno family and all the rest of the crew just sprang into that practiced frenzy of theirs, getting ready for that monumental hyperdrive to a brand new atmosphere. Putting on their gear with a fresh, deeper purpose, they streamed straight into those designated space pods. Each pod, made for 30 folks, was packed tight with 28 in 5 of them and 29 in the other 3, filling up all 8 of the 10 pods they had. Anticipation just hung thick in the air, a heady mix of pure exhilaration and a trembling kind of awe. Every single soul, seat belted up tight, just gazed straight ahead, ready to leap right into that incredible unknown. Down in the Operation Command Room, Captain Hayes was locked on the course to that brand new world, a little wave of excitement even crossing his usually steady face. "Captain Brown," he commanded, his voice deep, "start that countdown sequence." And with a powerful surge, that ship shot forward, moving so fast it just went right on past the speed of light. 1 hour later, when they got to that unknown planet's atmosphere. Then, Lord have mercy, the unthinkable. Right in the middle of that hyperjump, as the very threads of space seemed to rip right open around the majestic starship Phoenix, a deep, guttural shriek tore through the whole vessel. Not just the ship groaning, no, something far more alien and bone-chillingly awful. A rogue meteor, quiet as death, a silent sign of disaster, just appeared right out of that shimmering hyperspace chaos, a jagged, dark monster. It wasn't just a bump, it was a devastating tearing apart. What in the void was that? Somebody shrieked, but their voice got swallowed up quickly. The ship bucked something fierce, like a giant beast hit by a 15-punch you couldn't see. A blinding flash exploded along the bottom hull, then that sick, tearing sound of reinforced metal just giving way like it was thin paper. In that horrifying instant, that meteor sliced right through the hull, hitting 3 pods dead as they shot past. No. Not those pods. Oh, crap, no, a raw, desperate cry just ripped through that sudden, awful quiet. There wasn't time for screaming, no moment to understand what was happening. Just a flash of white-hot light, a shock wave that shook teeth in their very sockets, and then, a silence where 3 pods had been. 85 Field Arno family members, gone in an instant, their lives put out before they could even know what hit them. Alarms shrieked, a wild, piercing wailing that tore right through the pod's thick insides, drowning out even the hard pounding of their own hearts. Inside each pod, strapped up tight in their seats, the Field Arno family got jolted by something fierce. Screens flickered to emergency red, and the outside view just turned into static and sparks. "Mommy! My head hurts," a child's terrified wail cut through all the noise, louder because of that small space. "What's happening? I can't see anything out there," another sobbed, pulling hard against their restraints. The very bones of the main ship groaned, "Lord," like a dying animal under some huge, unseen strain, its agony felt as shaking through its pod's hull. A wave of raw panic just washed over the survivors, a deep, cold dread that grabbed hold of every single heart. But the Field Arno family, bless their hearts, they'd seen trouble before, so they moved with a grim kind of quickness. Emergency release. Captain's override. Y'all brace for independent launch. A frantic voice blared over the comms, sounding like it was coming straight from the main bridge. "All of you hear that? We're launching," a mama hollered out, pulling her little ones in tight. "Hold on, everybody, hold on." With a sudden, sickening lurch, those pods got snatched clean away from the Phoenix's dying grip. Inside each pod, it was chaos, but a boxed-in kind of chaos. Screens flickered, showing a bunch of mess nobody could make sense of, and outside, all you saw was a whirl of light and bits of ship. The designated pilot in each pod, some seasoned explorer like Ricky, or Harry themselves, was wrestling with those controls as their lives depended on it. And they did. Their training just kicked in, instincts sharp like an honed blade from all those biannual drills. In Ricky's pod, he slammed his gloved hand down hard on that manual override. "Manual navigation engaged," he roared, his voice cutting clean through the COM-16 system, filling that cramped space. You could hear the strain in it, but it was still pure command. "Y'all stay strapped in. We're doing this old school. Somebody, get me a visual on that planet, now." In another pod, Lekaneth, sharp as a tack, was already barking orders. "Baki, put some juice into thrusters 5 and 7. Artemis, external telemetry. I needed it yesterday. We have to have a stable burn, not a damn roller coaster ride." Across the network, Harry's voice came through, surprisingly calm amidst the storm. "All pilots, confirm manual override. Y'all focus on a stable descent, aim for that green biome signature. And for the love of all that's holy, stay clear of those impact zones." Cries of fear mixed right in with desperate shouts of encouragement, as hearts beat a frantic rhythm against ribs. "Is it working, Daddy? Are we safe?" a little voice whimpered. "We're trying, sweetheart, we're trying," a parent mumbled back, their eyes glued tight to those flickering displays. Children, eyes wide with pure terror, clung to their parents, their small bodies shaking like leaves, while older relatives swiftly gathered in groups, their faces set in a grim determination. They moved in that cramped space with a practiced quickness born from all those repeated drills, guiding folks who were dazed or just too scared to move a muscle. "Breathe, everybody, just breathe," an elder softly coached in one corner, her voice calm in the storm of those frantic console beeps. The pods jettisoned, hurtling away from the mothership as it disintegrated, consumed by a fiery, cataclysmic explosion, a new star briefly igniting in the blackness before fading into cosmic dust. "Pods are clear. We have a full launch." Ricky's voice, strained but firm, crackled over the comms, a thread of life through the sudden void. "All right, pod leaders, listen up. We have a debris field from the Phoenix. Activate evasive maneuvers. We aren't out of the woods yet." Inside Pod 3, Artemis gripped his controls, his knuckles white. "Heard that, Uncle Ricky? Hold on tight, y'all." He wrestled the joystick, his eyes glued to the external viewports now filled with jagged, incandescent fragments of their former home. A piece of the Phoenix's outer hull, the size of a small house, tumbled directly towards them. "Hard to port. Brace for impact," he bellowed. The pod shuddered violently, alarms blared a sharp, new tune, and a spray of sparks flew from a console as they clipped the edge of the debris, but they held. Over in Pod 5, Harry squinted through the shimmering chaos. "This isn't a drill. We 17 have meteors mixing with Phoenix shrapnel. Keep those deflectors up." His family members, acting as a makeshift crew, worked in a blur, punching commands. A smaller, faster meteor zipped past, so close they could feel its ghostly pull. "That was too close for comfort, Lord," he muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. "The atmosphere's starting to pull us, too. We're going down fast." Lekaneth, in Pod 7, grits his teeth, his voice a low growl over the comms. "Copy that, Harry. This planet's got a mighty strong hand. Feel that pull, y'all? It's trying to snatch us right out of the sky." He fought the atmospheric drag, guiding his pod through a narrow gap between two large, glowing pieces of debris. "Barely made that one. Maintain trajectory. Minimal damage reported across the board so far, praise be." Through the small viewports of their escape pods, the Field Arno family watched in awe and a collective sigh of grief as their decade-long home exploded into a shower of incandescent debris. Below them, a mysterious, unknown planet shimmered with ethereal lights, its landscape a breathtaking tapestry of vibrant colors and swirling mists. It loomed closer, a beacon of hope and uncertainty. As they braced for impact, a profound sense of unity and resilience filled their hearts, binding them together against the unknown. The descent and the landing, the pods, now free from the Phoenix's fiery demise, were hurtling through the alien atmosphere. Through their viewports, the Field Arno family watched, awestruck, as the mysterious planet below grew larger, revealing its secrets. "Lord have mercy, look at that." Marie's voice, usually so composed, was filled with a trembling wonder as she peered out from Pod 4. "Y'all see those mountains? Way out there in the distance, blue as the deepest ocean. And those lights? Past the mountains." Emery from Pod 2 chimed in, his voice crackling with excitement. "Like little flickering stars down on the ground, almost like cities. Do you reckon folks are living out there?" Ricka's voice, ever the steady anchor, came over the comms. "We see them, Emery. And those mountains, too. It gives us something to aim for, a sign of something more than just wild land. But stay focused, y'all. The atmosphere's pulling us hard now, trying to snatch us right out of the sky." Suddenly, a harsh, grating sound ripped through Pod 3. "Uh-oh, Uncle Ricka. We've got a slight system failure here." Artemis yelled, wrestling with his controls. Sparks 18 flew from a console. "Lost partial control of the port thruster. We're compensating, but it's getting rough. Hold it together, Artemis." Harry barked back from Pod 5, his own pod lurching as they dodged a massive piece of debris, the size of an old Earth bus, that spiraled past. "We've got big bits of the Phoenix still following us down. Keep your eyes peeled." Just as Artemis fought to stabilize Pod 3, a thick, gnarled branch, glowing with an eerie bioluminescent violet, materialized right in their path. There was a sickening crack as the pod's underside scraped against it. The whole pod shuddered, alarms flared brighter, but the reinforced hull held, deflecting the impact. Other pods, guided by their leaders, weaved skillfully through the descending forest, branches scratching and whipping past their reinforced exteriors. The air outside thickened, the pull of the planet growing stronger, pressing them down. The scent of ozone mingled with something sweet and earthy, filtering even into their sealed pods. The ground rushed up fast, a blur of deep greens, purples, and blues, punctuated by the soft, glowing lights of bioluminescent plants, trees, and even shimmering water in the far distance. First orders and new challenges. All right now, listen up, family. Ricky's voice cut through the initial wonder, bringing everyone back to the serious business at hand. He stood tall by Pod 1, already pulling a sleek, compact energy rifle from a quick access compartment near the door. Harry, Stevie, Lekaneth, Drenba. You and your designated teams, come on up here and get yourselves equipped. We don't know what's out there. From within the pods, a few more of those ancient, humming weapons they'd salvaged from the Phoenix's armory were retrieved. The leaders, and a select few others, strapped them securely to their backs or hips, the unfamiliar weight a stark reminder of their new reality. The weapons shimmered faintly, a subtle hum emanating from them, a stark contrast to the bioluminescent glow of the forest. Harry, his own energy pistol now visible at his side, stepped forward. Here's the deal, folks. Do not wander off, not even a step, without a direct order. We stick together. We don't touch anything strange unless we know what it is, and even then, with extreme caution. This isn't Earth, and we don't know its rules. Lekaneth added, his gaze sweeping over the group. Keep your eyes and ears open. Every shadow, every sound. We move with purpose, and we stay quiet. If you 19 see something, you alert your team leader. No panicking, no screaming out. And for those of you with these new weapons, Andrew said, patting his own rifle, you know how to use them. But they're for defense only, hear me? We aren't looking for trouble, not unless it comes looking for us first. We're survivors, not conquerors. The Field Arno family, a little disoriented but mostly unharmed, stepped out onto the soft, moss-covered ground, breathing in the strange, sweet air of their new home. Their eyes, now sparkling with wonder and a newfound determination, gazed out at the vast horizon, understanding that this mysterious planet held both immense challenges and wonders beyond their wildest imaginings. The air thrummed not just with the life of the alien forest, but with the quiet resolve of a family ready to face whatever lay beyond the glowing trees. As the alien sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, purple shadows over the scattered wreckage of their pods, the Field Arno family sprang into action once more. Ricky and Harry, with their natural leadership, swiftly organized the remaining 142 family members. Their hearts, heavy with the loss of their ship and many loved ones, were still full of determination. All right, listen up, everyone. Ricky's voice, though weary, carried authority. We've got two immediate priorities, securing our haven and finding out what's left. We're splitting into 4 groups to maximize our efforts and keep everyone safe. Group 1, Pod Defense and Child Protection first, protection and safety, Harry announced, his gaze sweeping over the faces, lingering on the younger ones. 50 of us, led by Drenba, Cassie, and Lekaneth, will stay here at the pods. Our mission is paramount: fortify our position, establish a perimeter, and most importantly, ensure the absolute safety of our youngest family members. He looked directly at Drenba. Drenba, you're the best we've got for this. Make these pods our fortress. No one gets in or out without your say-so. Drenba nodded grimly. On it, Harry. Shifts are going up, the hull's getting locked tight. Nobody's getting through. Next, the search parties, Ricky continued, motioning to 2 groups. Each will have a clear leader and a specific sector to cover. We need to find supplies, assess the full extent of the wreckage, and look for any other survivors. Group 2, Wreckage Assessment and Supply Retrieval Team Alpha, Harry directed, 25 of you will be led by Andrew. Your focus is 20 on the immediate wreckage surrounding our landing site. Look for intact sections, any stashed emergency supplies, and assess the stability of the larger debris. We're looking for anything that can be salvaged: power cells, tools, medical supplies. Report back anything unusual. Andrew gave a curt nod. Understood, Harry. Will be thorough. Group 3, Perimeter and Resource Scan Team Beta, Rika called out, another 25, led by Artemis. You'll be sweeping a wider perimeter around our alien landing zone. We need to know what's out there on this planet. Look for water sources, natural shelter, and any potential threats. Stay alert, stay together, and maintain comms discipline. Artemis saluted. We'll be careful, Rika. Reporting any anomalies. The reconnaissance and command group finally, Group 4, Harry concluded, the remaining 42, including myself and Rika. Will act as a central reconnaissance and command unit. We'll be moving between the other groups, providing support, assessing larger sections of the ship, and making strategic decisions based on your findings. Rika stepped forward. We'll run these search efforts for the next 48 hours straight. That means rotating shifts, maintaining comms, and getting a brief rest when you can. After 48 hours, we'll regroup, assess all findings, and formulate a long-term plan. This is critical, family. Our survival depends on how organized and determined we are right now. He paused, looking at each face. Any questions? Let's move. The great find, the walk to the wreckage, the journey to the downed sections of the Phoenix was slow and taxing, each step a heavy reminder of what they'd lost. The alien land stretched out, a treacherous maze of large, mossy boulders draped with thick vines, sudden, gaping ravines hidden by swirling mists, and thorny, bioluminescent flora that pulsed softly in the twilight, throwing long, shifty shadows. This wasn't an ordinary forest back home. No, these trees, they seemed to breathe, their massive trunks covered in glowing fungi, their leaves shimmering with an inner light, and the very air hummed with an unfamiliar, almost musical energy. A faint, sweet, unfamiliar scent clung to everything, thick like honeysuckle after a summer rain. Their boots squelched softly on the damp, spongy ground, and the only sounds were their heavy breathing, the mournful creak of 21 shifting wreckage way off in the distance, and those unsettling rustles and clicks from deeper within the whispering forest. It was the kind of sound that made the hairs on your neck stand up, letting you know things were moving just out of sight. Stay tight, y'all, Andrew called out, his voice a bit muffled by his environmental mask. He swept his flashlight beam across a particularly unstable-looking pile of twisted girders half swallowed by emerald moss. One false step out here, and it's over for good. Up ahead, Morgan pointed to a shimmering, almost rainbow-colored patch on the ground. Watch for growth there. My comms AI, Yandis, isn't getting a read on it. It says it's anomalous. It looks inert, but I don't like the way it reflects the light. Could be something nasty. Heard that, Morgan, came Joe Jr.'s voice from the rear, a shiver in it despite the hard walking. This whole place feels strange. Like we're being watched, or something's just waiting in those shadows. I sure do miss the solid walls of the surrounding ship. We all do, Joe Jr., bless your heart, Eric replied, his tone softer now, full of that deep, tired comfort. But the Phoenix is still out here, in pieces, waiting for us to find what we need to keep on living. A sudden, sharp crack echoed through the trees, closer this time, and Harry immediately brought up his COMM key. Any ID on that last sound? Movement signature. Negative, Kian, he replied calmly, though there was a subtle shift in its audio frequency, a hint of strain. Unidentified sonic event. No correlating movement signature detected. Recommend increased vigilance. Well, ain't that just for comfort? Morgan muttered, clutching her scavenged multi-tool a little tighter. Still, we have to keep moving. Our folks are counting on us. They moved with practiced efficiency, a silent dance of caution and grim determination. Each step was a testament to their resolve, pushing past exhaustion and the ever-present ache of grief. They meticulously scoured the debris for any signs of survivors, salvaging what precious supplies they could find. Even in their grief, Their instincts were sharp. I, y'all come look at this. Amba's voice rang out, full of disbelief, echoing through the cavernous wreck. It's the hydroponics bay. And look down there, through 22 that busted door there, isn't that the main chow hall? Andrew, ever the pragmatist, peered over her shoulder, his flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. You aren't kidding, Amba. Looks like this whole section of the Phoenix stayed mostly in one piece. The air was thick with the scent of damp metal and something vaguely earthy. As they ventured further into the hydroponics bay, they saw what Amba was pointing at. Rows of neatly packed, though now disheveled, growing trays. Below, through the warped entrance to the mess hall, they could discern the familiar outlines of tables and overturned chairs. I can't believe it, sighed Morgan, her voice hushed. It's all, still here. The crew must have packed these things to the brim before we even launched. She pointed to a series of sturdy, sealed containers partially visible under a collapsed support beam. And look. Those are clearly food storage lockers from the chow hall's pantries. This here is a true blessing, Morgan murmured, running a hand over one of the intact, though empty, nutrient reservoirs. It could be enough to last us a while. We'll gather them carefully, but this changes things. Absolutely, Andrew agreed, already assessing the structural integrity of the area. We need to secure this section first. Then, we meticulously catalog every last ration. This is a game changer, folks. Morgan tapped her comm unit. Morgan to all teams, come in. We have a significant discovery in our sector. Repeat, significant. After a moment of static, the comms crackled. This is Ricky. Go ahead, Morgan. What's your status? Ricky, we've found the hydroponics bay and a good portion of the main mess hall mostly intact, Morgan relayed. Whew, y'all. This is going to flip the whole script. And it's packed. We're looking at a substantial amount of preserved food from the ship's original stores. A low whistle came over the COMM. You're telling me we hit the jackpot? That's incredible news, Morgan. How much are we talking about, and what's the challenge for extraction? Ricky's voice held a mix of surprise and relief. I ain't exaggerating, Ricky, we're sitting on a real miracle here. It's a real come up, enough to set us straight. It's a solid 5-hour walk or so, though, and through twisted wreckage and tight spots. It isn't an easy stroll. The area's stable, but moving this cargo back to the pods, that's going to take time. Maybe a few days of steady 23 work. We'll need extra hands and the reinforced sleds we packed. But if we get this done right, we buy ourselves breathing room. Right, Andrew cut in, taking over the COMM. Andrew here. Ricky, from what we've seen, taking that straight shot is the safest way to haul this stuff. But it's a long, roundabout path through some unstable sections. We're thinking we'll need extra hands and possibly some of the heavy-duty reinforced sleds we brought for equipment. Understood, Andrew, Ricky replied. The home team is currently working to stabilize that outer perimeter, but we've got a couple of strong backs and young ones we can send. He paused. How long before y'all are ready to move it? Discoveries, we're going to need a few hours to sort this stuff out, Morgan said, steady and clear. First thing, we'll grab the stuff that'll keep folks fed the longest, heavy, shelf-stable, all that. We'll mark the route, making it easy to follow. Ricky, do you have 2, maybe 3 people you can spare with sleds? We also need that comms relay up and running so we can stay connected. We've got you covered, Morgan, Ricky said, voice deep with age and gravel. Barrett and Donus are headed your way with those 2 sleds, and I'm sending a comms man, too. They'll meet y'all by that hydroponics entrance. Time to make it count. Ricky out. Got it? Morgan out, she said, then turned to her crew. Y'all heard him. Let's quit standing around. We've got work to do. For what felt like all day long, Artemis and Yennefer led their crew deeper into the Whispering Forest, a place that was something else entirely. This wasn't a regular patch of woods, not by a long shot. No, this felt more like a great big, hallowed ground, untouched and full of its own spirit, every step taking them further into its deep, shining mysteries. The tall trees, their bark all laced up with glowing, phosphorescent moss that seemed to pulse with a soft, inner light, made a thick roof overhead. It filtered the alien sun, throwing down beams of violet and gold that just danced on the path in front of them, like the very air was glittering. The air in there was heavy, smelled like damp earth and something kind of metallic, a scent that would just prickle the back of your throat and make you wonder what was really breathing around you. Strange, fat plants glowed from the inside out, like gentle, living lanterns, and the ground was soft and springy, like a deep carpet of emerald 24 green fungi and thick, velvety moss, cushioning their every single step. Now and then, a faint, high-pitched chime would just float through the trees, a sound so delicate you'd think it was just the wind, or maybe something much more deliberate, like the forest itself was singing. As they walked, little rustles and clicks would come from the shadows, small, unseen critters moving just out of sight, sending a quick shiver down their spines. This forest was beautiful, but it had a way of making you feel mighty small and mighty watched. Their senses were sharp, honed by that long 4-hour walk, and tuned in for both trouble and opportunity. Brvid, his hand steady on his repurposed cutting tool, kept a close eye on the winding path, noticing every snapped branch or scuffed up patch of moss. Yennefer, she always was more tuned into the subtle energies of things, felt the forest's heartbeat, a low thrum that just vibrated in her bones. "Hold up, Brvid," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper, pointing toward a massive, vine-choked boulder. "Did you hear that?" Like a low buzzing, almost like a million fireflies whispering. "Yeah, I hear it," Brvid Jr. confirmed, his eyes searching through the dense leaves. "And I ain't liking it one bit. This isn't like any bug or critter sound our records ever told us about. Keep your eyes peeled, y'all. And stick to the path I'm clearing." Crew, a big, burly family member carrying a heavy-duty portable scanner, frowned. "My readings are jumping all over the place out here, Brvid. Lots of unknown energy signatures, just, everywhere. Like this whole forest is alive with something we just don't understand. That's why we have to be twice as careful, Ori," Yennefer replied, her gaze fixed on the shimmering moss on the trees. "This place is beautiful, but it feels like it's hiding a whole lot of secrets. And some secrets just aren't meant to be found, you hear." A younger member, Tamada, nervously adjusted her grip on her scavenged pipe wrench. "You think those chimes are from something living? Or something real old, like from way back?" "Hard to say, Anna," Brvid sighed, pushing aside a heavy curtain of glowing vines. "But whatever it isn't in our records. Just stick together, now. We're looking for anything useful, any signs of life, but no unnecessary risks. Hear me?" As they moved deeper and deeper, the air got thicker with that sweet, metallic smell. The ground felt softer, almost squishy, under their boots, like they were walking on a great big, living pillow. The rustles and clicks from the unseen critters seemed to 25 multiply, getting closer, making the group exchange nervous glances. "My echo sync band AI, Barry, is picking up faint structural anomalies below us," Tawana reported, his brow furrowed as he watched his scanner. "Very deep, ancient-looking architecture. Consistent with, well, something built, for sure." "Understood, Tawana," Brvid replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Just mark it. We're focusing on the surface for now. We can't afford to get stuck." His words got cut short. Just as Yennefer reached for one of those shimmering devices nestled in a natural hollow they had just found along with perfectly preserved, Self-heating food packs, still charged power cells, and a stash of beautifully made weapons from some long-forgotten folks. The ground right under Akira, who had been carefully checking out a glowing mushroom cluster, just gave way with a sudden, sickening crumble. Her startled cry got cut short as she vanished, falling into the dark. Akira! Brevet Jr. roared, lunging forward, but it was too late. He skidded to the edge of a newly opened chasm, a big, gaping hole in the forest floor. Dust and loose dirt just rained down into the emptiness. "She's gone," a panicked voice from the group cried out. "No, she isn't," Yennefer countered, already dropping to her knees, peering into the blackness. "Akira! Can you hear me, girl?" A muffled groan echoed from below, followed by a faint, I think so," landed hard. "What in the world is this place?" Brevet Jr. quickly activated his COMM Brevet to Rika. "Harry! We've got a problem here." Unknown Akira fell into a sinkhole. "She's alive, though, but we don't know how deep she is or what's down there. Looks like she uncovered something big on the way down." "Copy that, Brevet. Stand by," Rika's voice crackled back, with a clear note of urgency. "Hold tight, we're coming down there, Akira," Yennefer shouted, already peering over the edges of that big old gap with her rigged-up cutting tools, light slicing right through the dark. The fall wasn't too deep, thank goodness. "I see, wait. Are those carvings on the walls? And a doorway?" From the depths, Akira's voice, now clearer but full of wonder, resonated up. "It's not just carvings, Yennefer. I landed on some kind of platform. And below me is a city. A whole ruined city, right under this forest." That faint, low buzzing they 26 heard earlier now pulsed with a new, stronger beat from the newly exposed depths. Akira's words hung in the air, a mix of awe and disbelief, echoed by the rising hum from below. Brevet didn't waste a second. "All right, Tawana, Tamata. Roger, Mary. We're going down. Secure the ropes," he barked, his voice cutting through the group's shock. Yennefer was already looping a thick vine, strong as a ship's cable, around a sturdy tree root near the chasm's edge. Her cutting tool, adjusted to a wider beam, now pierced the gloom, revealing more of the ancient, almost glowing carvings Anya had spotted. They told a story in symbols, something too old for any of their records. "I got Akira on comms, she's sounding shaken but alright," Tawana reported, setting up his portable winch. "Says she's on a big, flat rock, and she isn't alone. Looks like she broke the fall for 2 others down there." "2 others?" Brevet muttered, his brows furrowed. "Who else fell in?" Before Ori could answer, a faint, strained voice crackled over the comms. "It's Jesse, Brevet. Barry's with me. We landed hard, but we're mostly just bruised. Akira caught us both. She's something else, isn't she?" Relief washed over Brevet, quick as a summer rain. "Thank the stars. All right, Jesse, Barry, hold tight. Yennefer, get a move on. Artemis, you're on the winch. Ori, cover us, keep an eye on the top side." Yennefer wasted no time, shimmering down the vine with practiced ease, her cutting tool beam sweeping the walls. The descent wasn't long, maybe 20 feet or so, before she landed softly on the same platform as Akira, Jesse, and Barry. The platform itself was smooth, made of a dark, polished stone unlike any they'd ever seen, with more of those strange symbols carved into its surface, glimmering faintly in the tool's light. "Well, now," Yennefer whispered, her eyes wide as she took in the scene. The platform was just the top of a massive, collapsed structure, one side broken open to reveal a sprawling, silent city below. Dust motes danced in the light, revealing glimpses of buildings swallowed by the earth, their ancient forms just barely visible in the heavy darkness. The air here was even thicker with that sweet, metallic scent, but now it had a hint of something else, something like ozone, or power. 27 Near Ikara, half buried in the rubble from the fall, lay several objects that truly made their eyes widen. There were artifacts unlike anything in their collective memory, a small, intricately carved box of what looked like shimmering crystal, softly throbbing with a violet light, and scattered around it, several strange, slender weapons. These weren't crude tools or repurposed scrap. They were elegant, almost alive, with blades that seemed to ripple like water and hilts that fit perfectly into the hand, made of a metal that drank the light rather than reflecting it. One of them, a staff-like implement, hummed with that same low buzzing they'd heard from the forest itself, its tip glowing with a soft, steady light. Brevet Jr. rappelled down next, his boots landing with a soft thud. He gazed around, his face etched with a mix of caution and awe. This isn't just a discovery, y'all. This is something else entirely. This city. It's a piece of forever. We have to be really careful, but we have to see what else this place is holding. With Jesse and Barry patched up as best they could be, the group started their cautious exploration. The sheer scale of the buried city was something fierce. They moved through what must have been grand avenues, now just narrow canyons of stone choked with more of that glowing moss and tangled, bioluminescent vines. Broken arches, once majestic, now leaned precariously, like ancient guardians frozen in time. The air pulsed with that low, mysterious hum, sometimes faint, sometimes vibrating through the soles of their boots. Yennefer, always the one with a feel for things, kept her hand outstretched, almost sensing the energy in the air. "It's like a whisper," she murmured, her eyes half closed, a whisper getting louder. "There's something here, something important, drawing me in." They started their search in a partially collapsed chamber that smelled faintly of ancient dust and a sweet, unknown bloom. Most of it was rubble, but as Yennefer led them toward a section of intact wall, a gentle hum vibrated through the air, pulling at her like a silent current. She pointed, her eyes fixed. "Right there. It's calling to me." Roger's scanner flared. "Massive energy spike behind that crumbling section, Brevet." Brevet nodded, carefully prying away loose stones. Behind them, nested in a shallow alcove, they found it, a long, elegant spear, its tip a clear crystal that hummed with silent power, the same low buzz they'd heard since they got here. Its shaft was made of a smooth, dark glythrium, intricately carved with symbols that glowed faintly. It felt impossibly light, yet solid. Beside it lay a curved short sword, its hilt wrapped in 28 glowing, sinewy material. Its blade, a dark, reflective metal, seemed to absorb the scant light around it. "These aren't just tools," Barry whispered, her eyes wide. "They're part of this place, like they were grown from it." As they moved deeper into the ruins, the subtle pull on Yennefer intensified, a constant thrum beneath her skin, guiding them through corridors where vines hung like silent curtains. They entered what looked like a grand, circular room, its walls still adorned with faded murals depicting figures with elongated limbs and eyes like molten gold, seemingly looking out into forever. Here, the hum was almost a vibration in their chests. Yennefer stopped dead in her tracks, her hand trembling slightly as she reached out to the very center of the room. "It's right here," she breathed. "I feel it. Like something powerful, something ancient, reaching out, pulling at my very soul." Brevet scanned the area. "Lee Jr., what's your reading?" "Off the charts, Brevet." "Concentrated source, right below Yennefer's hand." Lee Jr. exclaimed, his brows furrowed in disbelief. Carefully, Brevet moved a heavy slab of stone that appeared to be a fallen ceiling piece. Beneath it, nestled in a pristine, dust-free indentation, lay the prize. A small, spherical orb, no bigger than a child's fist, floated just above a stone pedestal, its surface rippling with faint, shifting constellations. Yennefer reached for it, and as her fingers brushed its surface, a burst of warmth spread through her, and she felt a fleeting, impossible connection to something vast and ancient, a rush of understanding quickly fading. Beside the pedestal, neatly stacked, were a set of thin, metallic tablets, their surfaces covered in the same strange, glowing symbols from the chasm walls, their edges cool to the touch. Each one seemed to vibrate with a silent story, as if waiting for a touch to awaken the knowledge held within. These aren't just things they left behind, Bravid murmured, his gaze lingering on the glowing orb. They feel alive. Like they're waiting for something. The low buzz from the city seemed to deepen, a silent acknowledgement of their incredible discoveries. What other secrets did this buried world hold? Before they could delve any deeper into the ancient mysteries, a sharp, urgent crackle cut through the comms. Bravid. Bravid, you read me? This is Rika. You there, man? Rika's voice was 29 tinged with excitement and a heavy dose of urgency. Bravid quickly tapped his comm, pulling his attention away from the shimmering artifacts. Loud and clear, Rika. What's going on? We just hit the mother lode down here, found a whole buried city and some incredible, well, you just have to see it to believe it, trust me. Yeah, a city sounds wild, Bravid, but listen up, now. Rika practically shouted, overriding Bravid's report. And Andrew, we found it? The wreckage. The main hall. It's buried deeper than we thought, but it's all there, mostly intact. The problem is, it's heavy. Real heavy. We're going to need every hand you've got down there to help haul it all back to the ship. We're talking serious salvage here, you hear me? Bravid glanced at the ancient spear in his hand, then back at the glowing orb Yennefer was still mesmerized by. The lure of the ruined city was powerful, a silent invitation to unravel its secrets. But Rika's words were a stark reminder of their true mission, survival and getting off this alien world. He sighed, a mix of disappointment and resolve settling over him. Copy that, Rika. Understood. We're on our way. It's going to take us a minute to secure these finds and get everyone out, but we'll be there as fast as we can. He turned to his team, their faces still lit by the ethereal glow of the newly discovered artifacts. All right, crew. Y'all heard the man. Base is calling us back. Morgan and Andrew found the main wreckage. Looks like our deep dive into history's going to have to wait. Time to get to work hauling our future home out of the ground. A chorus of groans met his words, but there was also a shared understanding. The magic of the ancient city would have to wait. The harsh reality of their situation and the promise of a way home pulled them back from the whispers of the past. Meanwhile, on the planet Takujik, deep within the clan lands of Fergoria, 4 Oyegan warriors were on their routine patrol. These weren't just any warriors, they were the fierce protectors of their lands, with bodies like humans but graced with the powerful, sleek features of the great feline hunters of old Earth. Kakma, with his broad, muscled shoulders and a mane like a lion's, moved with silent strength. Magbrel, agile and cunning, bore the distinctive spots of a leopard, her eyes sharp and piercing. Kirket had the lean, striped form of a tiger, his movements fluid and deadly, while Nedek, quick as a cheetah, showed the delicate, tufted ears and 30 intelligent gaze of a lynx, with a long, thick tail that swayed with every shift. Their clothing was something out of an ancient tale, too, flowing, light-colored tunics and skirts woven from luminous, sea-green fabrics, cinched at the waist with ornate belts that gleamed with polished, shell-like adornments. Their forearms and calves were wrapped in spiraling bands of intricate gold, reminiscent of the grand, ethereal beauty whispered about in the legends of ancient Atlantis. They had been traversing the ancient phoenix forest on their Glenthors, swift, six-legged creatures with iridescent scales and bioluminescent manes, known for their silent, rapid movement through the densest undergrowth. They were still a good mile or two from the forest's heart when their quiet trek was abruptly shattered by a series of thunderous roars. Massive pieces of metal, fragments of a ship, and multiple pods tore through the thick canopy, crashing down amidst the gnarled branches. The forest, usually a place of serene, ancient whispers, now echoed with the groans of breaking timber and the impact of the falling debris. Cakma, Macbrel, Kirket, and Netic immediately geared up, their senses heightened, hands instinctively moving to their weapons. These weren't just simple blades, these were extensions of their very will, forged with ancient knowledge and the planet's own power. Cakma reached for his Stormcaller hammer, its polished stone head humming faintly with captured lightning. Macbrel swiftly drew her twin sunblade scimitars, their curved edges shimmering with a focused, burning heat. Kirket grasped his shadow-weave spear, its obsidian tip seemingly drinking the surrounding light, promising swift, silent strikes. And Netic, ever vigilant, unsheathed his wind-whisper daggers, their keen edges vibrating with controlled air currents, allowing for incredibly fast, precise movements. Each weapon was more than just metal or stone, it was a conduit, designed to harness the elements or some inherent power of Tekujik itself, allowing its wielder to fight with the fury of nature. They exchanged tense glances. This was no meteor shower, no natural disaster. This was something else. They urged their Glenthors forward, the creatures moving with surprising grace and speed despite the chaos, weaving through the thick trees, following the fresh scars of the impact. As they cautiously approached the disturbance, pushing through the thick undergrowth that seemed to hum with new, unnatural energy, a collective gasp escaped them. Through the shimmering mists and dense foliage, they could discern forms of beings unlike any they had ever encountered, an unknown species, undeniably intelligent, 31 now in their world. The very air around these crashed fragments felt different, charged with a strange, foreign power that made the hair on their necks stand on end. What in the blazes are these creatures? Cakma rumbled, his voice tight with an unfamiliar tension, as he peered through the dense foliage. His gaze was fixed on the alien figures below. They've no fur, no feathers, no scales. What are those queer rags they wear? And that metal? What sort of hide is that? He exhaled slowly, a sound of profound disorientation, a low growl rumbling in his chest. And how did they come here without our sensors finding by the ancestor's beard? Netic, ever efficient, was already patching a line back to the Oyagya village base, his fingers quick on his comm unit. Informing the elders and clan chiefs, he stated, his voice a low, focused hum. We've had an event unlike any before. Big metal things, unknown folk, a terrible crash. Beside Cakma, Macbrel let out a soft, astonished sound, his leopard-spotted fur bristling slightly. They look like the folk from the old writings, he breathed, his eyes wide, fixed on the shapes of the humans as they worked near the wreckage. The outsiders, from the scrolls of First Light. The ones spoken of only in whispers, who crossed the void. Kirket, his tiger stripes seeming to ripple with his excitement, nodded vigorously, eyes alight with recognition. Exactly. Mind our history lessons. The tales of the chosen people returning, just like you always said, Netic. He nudged Netic with his elbow. You told us these stories weren't just for sleep, didn't you, you daft wee rascal? Netic paused his transmission, looking up with a self-satisfied, almost fervent grin, his lynx ears twitching. I told you all those stories weren't just campfire tales. The Great Spirit has sent and the stars lined up, just as foretold. This isn't just a crash, it's a sign. A revelation from the ancient tellings themselves, clear as the twin moons on a bright night. He looked from Macbrel to Kirket, his eyes shining with conviction. Our folk have waited for ages for the return of the sky travelers, to bring in the age of unity. Cakma, however, snapped, his lion's mane bristling with irritation. Nonsense, Netic. Quiet that wild talk. This is a strange thing of science, not a holy sign. They are unknowns, not chosen people. Rules demand care, not prophecies. Get back to base as ordered. We'll check this trouble with proper ways, not old fables. He gestured sharply with his chin towards the wreckage. Move. And keep that talk open 32 for news. The council needs hard facts, not hopeful blather, by the hammer. Despite his firm tone, a subtle tremor in his hand, hidden within the folds of his shimmering, sea-green tunic, betrayed the depth of his unease and the monumental weight of this unforeseen arrival. As Kakma finished speaking, his eyes, ever vigilant, caught movement in the distant tree line. Hold, he hissed, flattening himself further into the undergrowth. More of them. From their hidden vantage point, the Oyagya warriors watched, silent and unmoving, as the scene at the crash site grew. They saw the outsiders grunt and strain, their unfamiliar limbs pushing against impossibly heavy sections of their fallen craft. They observed the strange tools that glowed and whirred, cutting through metal with effortless ease, yet without fire. Then, from the very edge of the clearing, two distinct groups of aliens began to converge. One group, the one they had initially been observing, seemed to be coming from deeper within the forest, their movements suggesting they had been exploring the strange, glowing ruins that had just been uncovered by the crash. They carried odd, shimmering devices and peculiar, elegant weapons. Magbrul's eyes suddenly went wide, locked onto a specific slender spear with a clear crystal tip being handled by one of the outsiders. By the ancestor's breath. Magbrul gasped, his voice barely a whisper, a tremor running through his spotted fur. Look. That weapon, the one with the glowing tip, carried by the short one. I've seen it, I'll tell you. Kakma, impatient, turned to him. Seen it? Where, Magbrul? In a dream, you daft fool. No, not a dream, you thick head. Magbrul insisted, pointing with a trembling claw. In the ancient lesson books. The ones from our childhood, from the elders' teachings. Remember the pictures. The sky scepter of the ancients, they called it, always drawn with a clear, shining head, said to channel the very light of the stars. Kirket leaned in, his eyes following Magbrul's gaze. He's right, by the beard of the ancients. And look at that curved blade the taller one carries. The Sun Drinker Scimitar. We used to draw them in the sand during lessons. They were just tales, stories about the folk who built the lost cities, the ones who could rule the sky. His excitement, already high, reached a fever pitch. Nedic's grin widened, a triumphant gleam in his eyes. See, Kakma. Proof. This isn't 33 just a crash, it's a coming home. They carry the very tools of the old ones. The Great Spirit guides M.I. Kakma's expression hardened, but a flicker of profound doubt crossed his face. He stared at the weapon in the human's hand, then back at Magbrul, the image from the ancient texts now clear in his own memory. A chance is happening, I say. A strange thing. We still didn't know their purpose. His logical mind struggled against the overwhelming visual evidence of their own prophecies. The other group, smaller, emerged from a different direction, their faces smudged with grime, their hands empty save for what looked like crude, heavy tools. They looked exhausted but excited, gesturing towards the largest section of the wreckage. The Oyagya noted the coordinated movements, the brief, sharp vocalizations between them, and the grim determination on their smooth, hairless faces. There was no direct interaction, no attempt at contact, only a profound, silent study of these utterly alien beings as they labored, bringing what seemed to be salvaged parts back together. Kakma's eyes narrowed. Two different search groups, then. They're gathering their scattered bits. We need to report this right away, and quickly. Their skills, they are far beyond what we have. With the scene at the crash site fully observed and their data logs filled with every detail, Kakma gave the silent command. Enough, he rumbled, pulling back further into the shadows. We've seen all we can for now. We must return, lads. Without another word, the 4 Oygya warriors turned, mounting their waiting Glenthors. The 6-legged creatures moved with silent grace, their iridescent scales shimmering like liquid moonlight as they backed away from the chaos, melting back into the dense embrace of the Phoenix Forest. The urgency of their mission now weighed heavily, silencing even Nedic's prophetic fervor. The forest, still echoing with the distant sounds of alien labor, seemed to sigh as they departed. Their journey back was swifter, driven by the need to inform the elders. Night had fully fallen now, and as they rode, a large, brilliant blue orb began to rise slowly above the distant mountains, casting an ethereal, cool glow through the ancient trees. The bioluminescent manes of their Glenthors shimmered, lighting their way through the deepening twilight of the Phoenix. Finally, the forest thinned, and the majestic sight of their home came into view. The Oygya village was nestled perfectly, a harmonious blend of nature and 34 architecture. It stood proudly near the very edge of the forest, where the ancient trees gave way to the soaring base of the mountain. On one side, 2 rivers carved through the landscape, a tranquil, crystalline river on the ground flowed steadily towards the west. And, impossibly, directly above it, held aloft by unseen energies, another great river floated in the air, its shimmering waters gleaming under the rising blue, flowing calmly but distinctly in the opposite direction, towards the east. Buildings carved directly into the mountain rock or woven from glowing, organic materials dotted the landscape, connected by bridges of shimmering light. Smoke curled from communal hearths, and the soft hum of the village life, so different from the foreign buzz of the crash site, welcomed them. As they dismounted their Glenthors, the weight of what they had witnessed pressed down on them. Kakmo looked at his companions, his gaze unreadable. This first contact was nothing like the tales. It was silent, unsettling, and just might change their world forever, by the Etherian. A dream. The soft, ethereal glow of the alien flora cast dancing shadows within Leader Kekia's tent. Outside, the familiar sounds of the field Arno camp, the gentle rustle of fabric, the distant hoot of a night owl were a stark contrast to the charged silence inside. Most of the family slept soundly, oblivious to the momentous decisions being made. Inside the tent, the scent of damp earth and suppressed urgency hung heavy. Kekia sat at the head of a makeshift table, her gaze sweeping over the assembled figures. To her right sat the 4 elders, Lekaneth, his face etched with the wisdom of countless seasons, Drenba, her eyes sharp and discerning even in the dim light of the bioluminescent lanterns, Rika, whose quiet demeanor belied a keen intellect, and Harry, who was most attentive. Across from them sat the teams who had brought forth the night's astounding revelations. Morgan and Andrew of the Alpha team, still wearing the dust of the wreckage, their faces alight with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. And from the Beta team, Artemis and Yennefer, their expressions are a blend of wonder and unease from their encounter with the ancient ruins. Brevid Sr. and Fiolana were also present, their roles as central command now more critical than ever. "Thank y'all for answering this summons," Kekia began, her voice a low murmur that wouldn't carry beyond the tent's canvas. "I understand the hour is late, but the 35 intelligence you've brought us is too critical to wait until morning." Alpha team's report. Kekia gestured to Morgan and Andrew. "Morgan, Andrew, let's start with your discovery. Tell us again, in detail, what you found in the wreckage." Morgan leaned forward, her excitement still palpable. "Now listen here, leader, elders. We have found a good, big piece of that main mess hall, and even more importantly, we found the hydroponics bay. And honey, it ain't just the structure, oh no. It's what's inside that counts. We are talking about a substantial amount of preserved food here, from the ship's original stores. Enough to make a real difference for our people." Andrew chimed in, "Enough is an understatement, it's enough to secure our long-term survival. The challenge is getting it back. The debris field is still dangerous, but the yield is unprecedented. He pulled up a map on his ESP of the way they went. We've identified potential access points, and initial structural integrity looks promising for a recovery operation. We'll need extra hands and those reinforced sleds to bring it back. The elders exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of relief and cautious optimism. Rika nodded slowly. This is indeed a blessing. The question of sustained nourishment has weighed heavily on all our hearts. Beta team's report. Kekia then turned to Artemis and Yennefer. And now, to the Beta team's findings. Artemis, Yennefer, what did your scouting mission reveal? Artemis shifted, his earlier excitement now tinged with a more somber tone. Leader, elders, our findings are different. We located what appears to be ancient ruins, a whole buried city, hidden beneath the overgrown landscape. The entrance isn't far from our camp, near where that big tree broke through the pod landing path. Inside, we found strange artifacts, unlike anything we've ever seen. And what we believe to be weapons, unlike any modern design, with intricate, glowing symbols. Yennefer continued, her voice hushed with awe. The most striking aspects, though, were the symbols on the walls and on the metallic tablets. They're unlike any known script, but they evoke a profound sense of something ancient, something powerful. The entire area gives off a strange vibe, a feeling of immense history and perhaps latent energy. There's also a small, spherical orb that floats and hums with power. Beyond the artifacts, Artemis added, the site itself is remarkable. There are 36 clearly designated spaces for living and, critically, a pristine water source that seems to flow directly from within the ruins themselves. It's almost as if the site was designed for long-term habitation. Drenba, the elder with discerning eyes, spoke, weapons. Ancient structures. And symbols. This requires careful study. Is there any indication of who built this, or what its purpose was? Why did and who left it? Yennefer shook her head. None that we could discern immediately. The feeling of the place, though, was undeniable. It felt significant. Like it's been waiting. Kekia steepened her gaze, taking in all the information. So, we have a potentially vast new food source from the wreckage, an immediate, tangible lifeline. And we have an ancient, enigmatic ruin with powerful artifacts, strange symbols, a new water source, and a profound sense of history. Both are momentous. We need to decide our immediate priorities. She looked from the elders to the teams. Before we discuss the logistics of extraction and further exploration, I want to hear your initial thoughts. Elders, what is your counsel on these two extraordinary discoveries? Lekaneth, usually the most reserved, was the first to speak. Food is paramount, leader. Without it, the other discoveries mean little in the long run. We must secure our survival first. Rika nodded in agreement. Indeed. The stomach must be full before the mind can explore. The wreckage presents a clear, albeit challenging, path to sustainability. Drenba, however, turned her sharp gaze to Artemis and Yennefer. But what of the ruins? The symbols, the orb, the feeling. These are not mere curiosities. Such a discovery could hold knowledge that transcends our current understanding, perhaps even a key to understanding this world, or our place in it. And a new water source is invaluable. Lekaneth clasped his hands, his brow furrowed. We face a choice between immediate survival and profound potential. The food will sustain us, but the ruins, they could define us. Harry, Rika, what are your strategic insights? Harry, ever pragmatic, spoke first. Leader, elders, the food from the Phoenix is a certainty. We know what it is, we know how to use it, and we know we need it now. Every day we don't bring it in is a day our reserves dwindle. The ruins, on the other hand, they're unknown. A massive unknown. The artifacts are strange, the symbols are undecipherable, and that vibe Yennefer talks about? It could be anything. We 37 need to assess the risk before we commit significant resources. Rikke, always weighing the long term, added, while Harry's right about the immediate need, we can't ignore the potential of the ruins. A new, clean water source alone is huge, even if we never touch the artifacts. And if those spaces for living are truly habitable, that's a more permanent shelter than our current pods. We could establish a secondary, more defensible position there. We need to consider how these two discoveries interact. Can we extract the food while we cautiously investigate the ruins? The fact that the entrance to the ruins isn't too far from our landing path changes things, it's practically on our doorstep. Kekia listened intently, then slowly looked around the tent, her gaze lingering on each face. So, the core question remains, how do we balance the undeniable, immediate need for sustenance with the profound, yet uncertain, potential of the ancient city? And how do we do it with our limited resources and without alerting the wider camp to the full scope of these finds just yet? The tension in the tent was palpable. After a moment of heavy silence, Kekia made her decision. Here is how we proceed. Our immediate, undeniable priority is the food. Morgan and Andrew, you will lead the full extraction efforts starting at first light. Rikke, allocate as many able bodies and sleds as possible to assist them. This is our lifeline. She then turned to Artemis and Yennefer. Artemis, Yennefer, your discovery is too significant to ignore, especially with the water source and potential shelter. However, we cannot risk the entire family on an unknown. You will lead a small, dedicated reconnaissance team, no more than 10 individuals, chosen for their caution and observation skills. Your mission is to map the immediately accessible areas of the ruins, confirm the stability of the water source, and most importantly, assess for any immediate threats or dangers. Do not touch anything beyond what is necessary for the investigation. We need more data before we commit further resources. Capture as much footage with the ESB devices. This will be a quiet operation, under the guise of extended perimeter scouting. Harry and Rikke then exchanged looks. Harry took a deep breath before addressing the team, his expression now even more serious than before. And there's one more thing we need to share. While teams were out today, the AI system picked up some unusual activity. He gestured to a large display screen, bringing up a series of faint, grainy images. Specifically, it located 4 humanoid beings just outside camp. 38 Rikke stepped forward, pointing to the projected images. As you can see here, these aren't what we expected. They appear to be a mix of human and animal characteristics. The good news is, from what the AI gathered, they just observed us. They didn't approach or engage, simply watched from a distance before disappearing back into the foliage. Harry nodded grimly. But this changes things significantly. Rick is right. This means the natives of this area are aware of our presence. We can no longer assume we're unnoticed, especially now with increased activity around both the wreckage and these ruins. Therefore, Rick stated, his voice firm and clear, his gaze sweeping over each face, every team needs to proceed with extreme caution. We've shifted from potential discovery to confirmed observation. Our security protocols are now even more critical. Keep your ESB devices recording at all times, and report anything unusual immediately. We're in their territory now, and we need to act accordingly, with heightened vigilance in all our operations. The dream of the 48 that night, as the first moonrise cast its ethereal blue glow across their forest camp, a profound stillness settled. Among the sleeping field Arno, a select few unbeknownst to them, the destined 48 began to share the same extraordinary dream. Floating frozen islands drifted in a silent void, feathers fell endlessly from an unseen sky, and smoky figures appeared and vanished like breath on cold air. Then, words, ancient and echoing, filled their minds, when the earth shudders and the skies weep crimson, when shadows stretch long across the lost kingdoms, then shall the 48 rise. Born of the very soil and storm, each an echo of the world's raw power, they will harness the fury of the flame, the resilience of the stone, the swiftness of the wind, and the depth of the tide. Only by their combined might, a living conduit to the planet's pulse, can the spreading blight be scorched, shattered, dispersed, and drowned. Their hands, shaped by the elements, will bring down those who seek to unravel the fabric of the world, and restore balance. The dream lingered, a powerful, cryptic message imprinted upon their subconscious minds, even as they continued to sleep, unaware of its shared nature. The dawn would bring the demanding reality of their new home, but for the 48, it would also carry the silent echo of a destiny yet to be understood. 39 The new day dawned, not with the familiar warmth of a sun, but with the unrelenting, almost oppressive glow of a blue moon still hanging impossibly high in that black, star-dusted sky. Its ethereal, cerulean light filtered through the thick, alien forest canopy, painting leaves in shades of violet and indigo, and casting long, distorting shadows that made even familiar faces seem strange and shadowed. From the largest ship pod's makeshift chow hall, the comforting sizzle and aroma of cooking food drifted on the cool morning air, offering only a fleeting, fragile illusion of normalcy. Yet, the camp wasn't settling into its morning routine. Instead, it was alive with a different kind of energy, a low hum of hushed, anxious conversations. Here and there, a sharp gasp broke the quiet, or a hand flew to cover a trembling mouth. As the dreamers entered the chow area, the fragmented visions of the night, the floating islands, the falling feathers, the elusive smoky figures began to come together into something terrifyingly, undeniably real. A cold, quick fear, like an invisible current, spread like wildfire among them, tightening chests and chilling skin. An atmosphere thick with unspoken questions and a powerful thirst for answers just hung in the air. With each bearer of those haunting prophecies stepping forward, bathed in that eerie azure glow, a deep revelation unfolded. Their once familiar brown eyes, the mirrors to their very souls, had undergone a subtle yet striking change. Some sparkled with an unearthly sapphire brilliance, while others shimmered with the deep, hypnotic blue of ocean depths, each hue vibrating with an enigmatic inner radiance. The solemn telling of the final count was met with a stunned hush, echoing the undeniable truth: there were 38 bearers of the prophecy. The weight of this new-found destiny, now visibly etched upon them, descended upon the Field Arno family like a heavy shroud, bringing forth a future full of challenges and destinies beyond their wildest imaginings. The makeshift chow hall, usually a place of hearty chatter and shared comfort, felt heavy with a different kind of energy this morning. Plates of food sat mostly untouched as the Field Arno family gathered, not for a meal, but for answers. Whispers coiled through the air, all eyes on the 38 standing before them, their transformed eyes now openly visible in the blue moon's light. "Y'all seeing what I'm seeing?" Yennefer mumbled, nudging her neighbor, Brevet Jr., with her elbow. "Look at Barry's eyes. Lord have mercy, they shine like sapphires." 40 Brevet Jr. nodded slowly, a troubled look on his face. "And young Vondo over there, his is a sunset orange. It's just like the dreams, ain't it?" Harry stepped forward, his voice trying to cut through all that hushed anxiety, trying to sound strong even though you could hear the tremor. "So, we got some folks to say they had a dream. All dream the same thing. I don't even get that. We spent the whole morning trying to piece together what we could. These dreams, them visions, they weren't random, no sir, not one bit. And this here? This ain't either." He gestured, a little shaky, to the prophecy bearers. Marie came on up, her face grim. "Listen, y'all. This ain't no random happenstance. This change in our eyes, this innate power we're feeling, it's a direct sign, plain as day, of a connection to this prophecy. It suggests we are not just meant to survive, but to save the last vestiges of this land and free the folks right here." "Oh, indeed, sweetie, yes," Morgan added, her voice soft but firm, looking at all the stunned faces around them. These individuals, with all their different eye colors. They are absolutely, positively meant to fulfill specific roles within this prophecy. We don't know the full picture yet, not by a long shot, but it's clear these powers y'all got now, they're going to be crucial. Just then, Kennedy, bless her soul, pushed through the crowd, her face a mix of pure awe and a grim, understanding sorrow. Hold on, y'all. Just hold on a minute. Her voice, usually so calm, was filled with a new urgency. This feels mighty familiar, ain't it? Remember when our folk got sick back in Phoenix, a few years before we even took off? The one that hit folks out of nowhere, made 'em weak as newborn kittens, barely able to lift a finger, then just left 'em just as fast. Like a bad dream you can't quite shake, only, it happened. She looked at the 38 standing there, their eyes glowing. Well, I ran the numbers. Every single one of y'all is standing here right now, with their new eyes, looking all otherworldly. Y'all were the very same ones who got sick and then got better, just like that. Instantly, the whole thing was. She shook her head slowly, a deep wrinkle forming between her brows, and a sigh escaped her. It wasn't any regular flu, bless your hearts. Here, this is something more than just fate, it's a pattern. A pattern we've got to figure out. The touch of the unknown Barry, her sapphire eyes wide with a mix of wonder and raw fear, stepping forward from the 38, her voice trembling. Melody's right? I thought I was gonna die back in 41 Phoenix. And now my eyes are like this? What in the good Lord's name is happening to us? Am I gonna get sick again? Is this gonna hurt us? A collective murmur of agreement rippled through the rest of the 38, their expressions mirroring Barry's terror. As Barry's fearful words echoed through the chow hall, the very air began to thrum with a low, deep vibration, like a giant, unseen bell had just been struck. From the direction of the leaders' meeting tent, the tent where the discovered relics were held, a faint, ethereal hum began to grow louder. Then, the canvas flap of the tent snapped open as if by an unseen hand. Floating slowly through the opening, bathed in an eerie light of its own, was a long, slender implement with a clear, glowing tip. It drifted silently, almost purposefully, toward the center of the chow hall, followed closely by an intricately carved crystal box, throbbing with a soft, violet glow. A faint, sweet, unfamiliar scent, like rain on ancient stones, wafted from them, mingling with the metallic tang already present in the air. Gasps erupted throughout the chow hall. Children cried out, clutching at their parents. Adults stumbled back, knocking over stools and sending plates clattering. Claudia, not one of the 38, shrieking, pointing a shaky finger at the floating objects. Whoa! What in tarnation are those things? They just came out of the tent. Artemis, his own eyes wide with a mixture of fear and pure wonder, stammering. The artifacts. They're moving. And that smell, it wasn't there before. It feels like they're listening to us. Like they heard Barry. Suddenly, the long, slender implement, which had been hovering, darts forward with an unnerving speed. Before anyone can react, its glowing tip gently, almost reverently, presses against the palm of Barry's outstretched hand. Her hand, which had been raised in a gesture of fear and confusion, now involuntarily closes around the warm, smooth surface of the implement. The moment the implement connects, a soft, prickling tingle washes over Barry, spreading rapidly from her hand through her arm and into her core. A low, involuntary growl rumbles in her chest, foreign and startling. Her breath hitches as she feels her bones subtly shifting, a strange elongation in her limbs. Her ears, once human, begin to stretch and reshape, becoming pointed and covered in fine, white velvety fur. A sharp, almost painful sensation travels up her spine as her posture subtly changes, becoming more coiled, more ready to spring. Her sapphire eyes, already unusual, 42 seem to deepen, gaining a predatory gleam, and just beneath her skin, the faint, nascent markings of a powerful, sleek feline begin to shimmer into view. She gasps, a sound that ends in a guttural purr. At the same instant, the intricately carved crystal box, its crimson glow intensifying, glides through the air and settles softly into Tawana's cupped hands. Tawana doesn't flinch, but her discerning eyes widen, not with fear, but with a profound recognition. A similar wave of tingling energy courses through Tawana. Her body, too, undergoes a swift, yet perceptible transformation. Her hair seems to ripple and thicken, her features sharpen, and her ears extend into the distinct, rounded shape of a large, powerful cat, subtly twitching as if testing new senses. Her movements become fluid, almost too graceful, and a powerful, almost regal aura settles around her. Tawana, squinting at the now held objects, her voice a low, steady whisper, though now with an unexpected resonant quality. Kekia, the ruins. This ain't just about survival anymore, is it? These things, these powers, them dreams, they're all tied to that place. We need to send a team back. We need to find out why this is happening, and what it truly means. Her gaze, now sharper, sweeps over Harry and Rika. The truth, children, is waiting in those buried stones. A day of dual-purpose Drenbel looks from the horrified faces of the Field Arno family, to the terrified 38, to the now undeniably transformed Barry and Tawana, still holding the ancient artifacts. The weight of their situation settled heavily than ever. She knew they couldn't ignore either path now. Morgan, her voice now firm, cutting through the rising anxieties and the low hum that still emanates faintly from the artifacts. All right, listen up, family. The good Lord doesn't give us more than we can bear, and it seems He's given us a mighty big burden today. But we got strong backs and even stronger hearts. She takes a deep breath. For today, we stick to our plan, but with a new understanding. Morgan and Andrew, your mission remains, get that food back here. It's our bread and water, our very lifeblood. We'll send every able hand that ain't part of the 38 to help you. Number 43 questions asked, just get it done, and get it done safely. She then turns to Artemis and Yennefer, her eyes holding a new intensity, then looks at the objects now cradled by Barry and Tawana, and at their altered forms. And for the rest of us, for the 38 and a small, dedicated team to support M, led by Artemis and Yennefer, we're going back to their ruins. Not to poke around just for curiosity's sake anymore. We're going to find answers. We're gonna find out why this power is stirring within our kin, and what these things are trying to tell us. We need to know the truth of this place, for our own sake and for the future of us all. This ain't just about salvaging a ship anymore, or even just finding food. This is about finding our place in this strange new world, and understanding the gift or the curse that's been laid upon us. We move when the ESB devices alert us. Every step with caution, every eye peeled. We find answers, then we make our next move. Are we clear? A chorus of sober, determined yes, leaders, echoes through the chow hall. The fear is still there, but now, mixed with a nascent purpose. The day's decision was made, survival would be hand in hand with discovery. The Council of Whispers now, the cool, deep blue Otakujik's night, it had barely even started to fade when Kakma, Magbrel, Kirket, and Nedek, still dusted with the damp earth from the Phoenix Forest, were ushered right on into the Council o' Whispers. This chamber, now, was carved deep down in the mountain's heart, and it wasn't a grand, echoey hall like you might imagine. Nah, its walls, they just shimmered with veins of living crystal, hummin' with a soft, inner light. The very air in there felt alive, thick with ancient energies and the sharp, clean scent of mountain moss, all touched with the sweet perfume of flowers you couldn't even see. Around a great, polished obsidian table sat the clan chiefs and elders. These folks were the very backbone of Fergoria. The clan chiefs, younger and built like mountains themselves, wore scales of hardened hide, gleaming like emeralds and amethysts. Their fur, dark as a storm cloud or bright as burnished gold, framed eyes keen with the hunter's sharp focus. They were the shield bearers, the protectors of the now. 44 The elders, though, were something else. They were the wellsprings o' wisdom. Their fur, streaked with silver like moonlight on a winter's night, spoke of comfortless seasons. Their bodies, leaner from years spent in thought, held a quiet, unshakable strength. Their ancient eyes, often veiled by age, held a cosmic depth, etched with glowing tattoos o' stars and symbols older than the stone itself. Kakma was always the steady anchor, and he stepped forward first, his great lion's mane brushing the crystal formations above. His voice, usually a deep rumble, was tight when he spoke. Kakma, chiefs, elders, we bring news that'll shake the very roots o' our world. A vessel, like naught we've ever seen, crashed hard into the Phoenix Forest. And fear it, beings. Strange folk. Not o' our kind. As he spoke, Magbrel's nimble fingers worked his comm unit. Holographic images, sharp and clear now, shimmered over that obsidian table, showing the outsiders, their smooth skins in different shades o' brown, their odd coverings, their tireless movements amidst the wreck. Kakma, the forest's tension in his tone, their gather and their shattered bits. And they've got tools that cut metal WIOOT fire, tools that glow WI a light that's unsettling. A low murmur, like distant thunder, rolled through the chiefs. The elders, their tattoos pulsed a steady, contemplative beat. Nedek, bursting forward, his lynx ears twitch in WI a fierce zeal. But that's Nahof o' it, kinsman. They carry the very tools o' the old ones. I saw it. A glowing scepter, just like the sky scepter o' the ancients frame the scrolls o' first light. And a curved blade, a sun-drinker scimitar. These ain't just strangers, elders. These are the sky travelers, returned as foretold. The Great Spirit has delivered them Tito Usher in the age o' unity. As Nedek spoke, a faint, deep hum resonated through the very stone of the chamber. The glowing crystals in the walls pulsed, a soft, synchronized beat echoed Nedek's fiery words. Old Thalgrin, the blind elder, lifted a gnarled hand, wringing Olivin moss clinging to his fingers. Old Thalgrin, quiet, young Anna. The whispers o' the past are delicate. But the hum, I feel it. The mountain itself stirs, wakenting a new presence. His sightless gaze turned to Magbrel. Show us these tools again, lad. Make the light clear. 45 Magbrel adjusted the projection, the hum in the chamber deepening as the images of the strange tools sharpened. Kakma, his voice firm, this ain't Abood prophecies, Nedek. This is a foreign body on our land. They are unknowns. We dinna ken their intent. They could be a threat. Our law demands caution, no blind hope. Chief Kelda, the oldest o' the female elders, her fur a shimmering tapestry o' silver and grey, leaned forward, her ancient face etched wi profound recognition. Kelda, her voice was a low chant like wind through ancient reeds, now with an unexpected resonant quality from her recent transformation. The scroll o' whispers speaks o' such a time. When the starborn ones return, carrying the light o' Ald, then shall the paths diverge, and choices shape the very stars. These are mere happenstances, Kakma. The artifacts are resonating with the very core of Takujik. This calls for more than just caution. This calls for understanding. Just then, the chamber's air thickened further as Grand Seer Skaran, a figure of immense age whose white fur seemed to glow, shuffled in, supported by acolytes. Her eyes, ancient yet burning wi inner fire, held a new, vibrant pulse in their tattoos. All eyes turned to her. Grand Seer Skaran, her voice, though frail, boomed through the chamber, the multicolor flame, it has lit itself in the Sacred Heart Garden. For the first time in generations. And if Fergoria's flame burns brick bright on Sae2 do the others. On the high peaks o' the Sunclaw clan, and deep within the crystal caves o' the River Striders, the flames are stirrin'. This presence, it will nie be confined to our lands. Other clans, already feelin' the stirrins o' ancient energies, will soon be searchin' the planet, drawn by the same call. Chief Isade, a massive, scarred tiger-like warrior, slammed a clawed fist on the obsidian table, his stripes rippling in dignity. His roar filled the chamber. Chief Isade, then we act Noah. Afore they become a greater problem. Afore other clans decide to claim them. We send our warriors. We attack and imprison these sky travelers. Or if they resist, we destroy them. They are an incursion, not a prophecy. He turned, his gaze rackin' over a group o' younger, eager warriors, their eyes gleamin' at the prospect o' a fight. Prepare the scouting parties. No for observation, but for swift engagement. Ready the ether blades. Let them ken the might o' Fergoria. Abina, the Oyagya's chief scholar, rose slowly, her posture regal, her mane like 46 spun moonlight. Her voice, though calm, cut right through Isade's fury. Abina, hold, Chief Isade. Impetuous action invites disaster. The energy from these artifacts is undeniable. It matches the very frequencies described in the forgotten saga o Etherian. These are common tools, they hum with the planets and forgotten songs. The Grand Seer's words, they confirm it. We stand at a great precipice. She turned, her gaze sweeping over the council, then firmly fixing on Isade. Abina, remember, Chief, our en history. Remember the great bondage, when our kin were held captive by the Sky Lords o Ald. What was it that rose and, with courage and wisdom, found a way not just to fight, but to free them? It was the spirits o unity, guided by the very prophecies we speak o Noah. We were ants the yins need in liberation, locked away by invaders. To attack these newcomers, it could unravel the very fabric o prophecy and bring ruin upon us Nay, we must protect and embrace them, and seek the truth that the multicolor flame illuminates. She turned to a different group of Oyagya scholars and diplomats, their faces earnest and hopeful. I say we gather the ancient texts. Ready the sky silver vessels for ceremonial approach. We will prepare a peaceful delegation, and seek to meet these sky travelers with respect and inquiry. Chief Varek, a lean, cunning wolf like Oyagya known for his sharp mind and even sharper tongue, spoke for the first time, his voice a low growl. Chief Varek, and what if they are a plague, Elder Abina? What if this multicolor flame be a warning o contagion, no a welcome? We open our arms, and find ourselves poisoned. He looked at Isade. A strong hand now could save countless lives later, Chief. Elder Drost, his badger-like features stern, shooting back. But a blind hand could extinguish the very licht o prophecy. Have we learned naught frae the great blight o the north? Those who sought to burn it out only spread the embers further. Wisdom demands we discern, not destroy. Chief Mornag, a fierce, stoic female Oyagya, crossed her massive arms. Chief Mornag, discerning takes time, elder. Time we may not have. The Grand Seer himself said other clans will be searching. If we dinna control this, another clan micht. Or worse, they might destroy these sky travelers afore we can even speak Wim. And what then o the prophecy? Her gaze flickered between Isade and Abina, a pragmatism born of leadership in her eyes. We need a path forward that 47 protects our people, yet honors the words o the Ald Yins. A tense silence, thick with conflicting ideologies and the new, powerful revelation of the multicolor flame, filled the chamber. The air crackled with the stark division, the pragmatic, protective instincts of the warrior chiefs clashing with the profound, long foretold implications recognized by the wise, prophecy-attuned elders and the Grand Seer. The mountain hummed, awaiting their immediate, diverging decisions, each one a tremor that would ripple across Takujik. The council's decision now, it was Elder Kelda, her eyes still deep with the mystery of the newly lit flame and them resonant artifacts, who finally broke that stalemate. Her voice, carrying the unexpected timbre o' her recent transformation, just cut right through the clamor. Kelda, the prophecies speak no o conquest, nor o fear. They speak of a shift, a new path, illuminated by the ancient flame. We cannot extinguish a light sent to guide us. And we cannot risk a war that begins with ignorance. She stood tall, her posture regal despite her age, and then, with a clear, resonant voice, she called for a vote. Kelda, let those who believe in the path of peace and inquiry, in seeking understanding before battle, raise their hand. Slowly, deliberately, hands began to rise. Avina was first, her gaze unwavering. Old Thalgrin's gnarled hand lifted, followed by Elder Drost's. Chief Mornag, after a moment o' deep thought, her eyes still flicking toward Isade, raised her own. Then Kakma, ever the anchor, made his decision clear. One by one, more hands joined, some hesitantly, some with conviction. When the count was tallied, it was 5 against 4 in favor of peaceful contact. The path was chosen. Kelda, her voice strong, "Sae be it. The council has spoken. We shall send a delegation. It will consist of 9, chosen for their wisdom, their insight, and their ability to bridge divides." She paused, her gaze resting briefly on the Grand Seer Skaran. Grand Seer Skaran will lead them, take guide o'er understanding o' the ancient truths. She continued, selecting each member with deliberate care. Avina, your vast knowledge o' ancient texts will be invaluable. Nedek, your fiery spirit, though sometimes misplaced, speaks to the hopeful heart o' our people. Magbrel, your skill with communications will be essential. From the warriors, Chief Mornag, your pragmatism will ensure caution, and Kirket, your sharp observation will keep us 48 informed. And from the elders, Thalgrin, for his touch with the mountain's whispers, and Drost, for his unwavering wisdom. For knowledge o' the planets and deep past, we send historian Faelan, whose memory stretches back through generations o' lore. Finally, Gundrick, a fresh mind fray the younger generation, te cwi nuis. As the names were called, a hushed reverence fell over the chamber. A group of acolytes quickly brought forward a large, intricately carved wooden chest, smooth and dark as polished river stone. Its lid was inlaid with shimmering bioluminescent moss, glowing softly. Avina, stepping forward, her voice soft but clear, this is the hardwood offering. It contains samples o' Takujik's richest earth, blessed seeds o' our oldest trees, and a flask o' water from the sacred spring. It is a gift o' our home, a symbol o' peace, and an invitation to share the bounty o' this land. Let it speak o' our intentions afore any words are exchanged. A ripple o' acceptance, though still some grumbling from Isade's loyalists, spread through the chamber. The chosen 9, now with historian Gundrick among them, stood ready, their faces a mix of solemnity and purpose. The hum in the crystal walls softened, no longer a thrum o' tension but a steady, expectant throb. The council o' whispers had chosen its path, not one o' immediate conflict, but o' cautious, respectful discovery. The first contact with the sky travelers would be a parley, an invitation to understanding. And all o' Fergorid would hold its breath, awaitin' the dawn o' this new, uncertain age. 49.